This tutorial is about recursion. Recursion is when you want to take a pass in your analyzer sequence and run it over and over and over again until there are no more rules that can fire. Why would you want to do this? Because normally in a text, you're doing it with text that has levels. You have levels, something under something under something. A good example of this is our markdown resume text that we've been using for the tutorial. Here you see a level 1 header with one pound sign, level 2 header with 2 pound signs, level 3. So the companies go under experience, experience goes under the name here. And instead of writing explicit header rules to do header 1, header 2, and header 3, and then have to write a bunch of passes to gather those up individually, we're going to write a more generic way of doing this by doing all the headers first, marking what level those headers are, and then writing a recursive pass to gather those up. And that's what we're going to do today. You notice this pass does say recursive. If you right click here, you can choose recursive or one time. One time is normally, recursive will go over and over. So let's start out first with the headers. That's the one we're interested in. We talked about this in our NLP variable tutorial. What we're doing here is simply gathering all the pound signs here, that is minimum 1, and match as many as you can, and then match after that everything else to get the name of the header. So this is going to match all these things in blue. In fact, let's run it, and we can actually click on pass 7 and the highlights, and you can see that's in fact what it's doing. So it is matching all those headers. But what we're going to do when we do that is we're going to count how many we have here. That is, we're going to take the text from that first node, get the string length, and that'll give us a count, and we're going to hook it onto header. Remember, this is a suggested node, so we're going to hook out the number of the count of the pound signs onto that header. Okay, and that's really, really important. The text, we're not going to talk about that. We're really just talking about the recursion, so that's really important. The other thing very important is this text here, and that is once we get that count, it's going to say, oh, there's no max header. By the way, global variables, you don't have to initialize them. The first time you call it, it will be instantiated. So here we'll have it'll do 1. It will do the first header and give it max header 1. The next one's going to have 2. It's going to say, oh, 2 is greater than 1, et cetera, until you get the maximum number of headers, which in this case will be 3. That's very important for our recursion. So let's take a look at what we have in our tree here. And in our tree, you can see here's a header. The count is 1, the number of pound signs. Down here, you see the header for overview, which has a count of 2 because you see 2 pound signs. Further down, you see 3 pound signs. You get a count of 3 on its header. So there you go. We've gotten all these headers. Now we're going to remove the lines. You're going to see here we've removed those lines and just left the header. You notice that the header before was underneath the line. We want that header to be bumped up so it's at the very top level at the root. So we have one that removes lines. Not going to talk about that. We're not here to talk about all the details. We're talking about recursion. So we're back now. So all the headers are identified. How many counts? You can see count 1, count 2, 3, 3. And what we want to do now is in the recursive pass, we want to go gather all these up from the smallest, the biggest number headers, that is the least important headers, from 3, the 2, then 1. So we want to do whatever the max is, the 3's first, then the 2's next, then the 1. That will gather them up. That will make them all nested. That's how we want to do it. So how do we do that? Well, let's take a look at our pass for this. Now, this is very important. I'm going to go through all of this. So what are we doing? We're going to look at the headers. And if the count is equal to the max header, when it starts out, it's 3. So the count is 3, right? In fact, I think you can look at here. Let's take a look at this. We have a printout, and in fact, you can see that we found 3 as the max. So when we're looking at the tree for the header, we're going to see that this stuff is going to nest. But we're going to look at this before this pass runs. We're going to look at this tree from pass 8. So this is where we're looking. So what it's going to do, it's going to go through and it says, okay, it's going to check. When it looks at this rule, there are 3 areas here. The rule that you're trying to match, the post area of what you're going to do if you do match it, and a check, meaning let's match the rule, but we're going to do a check for succeeding or failing. So we're going to say, if the count on this header, it's going to come up to this first header, it's going to say the count's 1 on this first header. So it's going to say, is that equal to max, which is 3? No, it's going to fail. So it's going to go down to the next one. It's going to try to match this. It is going to match it, which is a header, and all the stuff until the next header. So it's going to match this header all the way down. So it's going to match this header in this line, but it's going to check, okay, I've matched it, but do I want to succeed? Well, does this count is equal to 3? No. So it goes further down, and now it comes down to 2, no, it comes to 3, and yes, finally this header and all its lines, the next 2 lines will match here. That is the header and all the things that coming up that match with that are not a header or the end. So it'll all that match. It'll say count for this one is 3. Oh, that's equal to the 3. So we're going to succeed. At that point, we're going to take that header and we're going to rename that header, and everything underneath that, that is this header, this line, and this line, are all going to be gathered up under header zone. You notice that the name has changed. So when we run this, the name of this will now be header zone, and these 2 things will be under it. I can't show you the intermediate trees because NLP++ doesn't show you every recursive pass. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to be saving information. That's not really important, and we'll look at nesting later. So that's how that works. So that's going to match this 3, then this 3, and then it's going to go through the whole file and won't match anymore. It's going to try again. It said, hey, I fired on 2 of those. Let's try again. So this time, how do we get it so that it decrements? Because it's going to look for 3 again and 3 again. So we have to find a way that says, are we done with this file? So that involves the second rule, and this is the second part of the rule. And that basically says, if you find a line or a header zone right at to the end of this decrement it, and we are going to see, is it less than 1? Because if it is, we are done. An exit pass means get out of this whole pass, quit the recursion. So that all this does. So after it does the 3 matches here, goes down, 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 finds this line at the end, and there's no more matches, it will then take the max header and make it decrement it so that it is now 2. So what does it do? We go again, and we're going to match this. So it's going to look at header 1, fail. Header 2, it's going to succeed. And it's going to match. When it does that, it's going to gather this and everything under it. And under it now will be this header 2. So it's going to stop here because this header still exists. So we go to the next one. It's going to have header, but this header 3 and this header 3 and everything under it are now header zones. So it's going to gather all that. And that's, again, very important. Remember, the 3s have been renamed to header zone. So it's going to get everything that's not a header, meaning a header that we have not processed in this recursion. So this 2 is going to gather this one and this one and this one, this one and this one and this one, all the way to the end. And then what it's going to do, it's going to make this header 2 count into a header zone. So this will now become, in the second time through, this will be a header zone, and all these things will be underneath that. This will be a header zone. So now we'll be left with header, header zone, and header zone. And what happens? We'll get to the end again. We'll get to the end. It's going to find either a header zone or a line. It's going to say, we are now gone through this whole file this time. We're going to decrement this, and now it's going to be header 1. So we go back again, and it finds header 1. It's the only one, and it gathers everything underneath it that's not a header. Well, this header, this header, this header, all of these headers have been transformed to header zones. So it's going to gather everything up, and it's only going to have 1 there. Find it at the end. It's going to go down here, decrement this. Now we're at 0. It's less than 1. We're going to exit this pass and go on. So that's how it works. Let's take a look at the final tree to see if that in fact happens. So let's take a look at the final tree, which we can go up here, click on the final tree, and let's look. Here's the header zone, and we can do something here, which I like to do when I'm looking at tree at the end here, is to fold all, and then you can open it up. You see there's the header zone, count 1, meaning it's a header 1. Now we see under here, we have a person of overview and experience. That's interesting, that's wrong. I'm sorry to look at this. We're going to look at the header zones. Sorry, folks. Ignore what I just said there. We're not going to look at the final tree. We're going to look at this tree. And we're going to fold all, and we're going to take a look here at the header zone. We're going to go under here. Now we're going to see header and header zone and header zone. This header is a header 1. This header zone is a header 2 and header 2. Why is that? Because it has another header underneath that, a header 2. There's its header. Underneath the header here, we have nothing else. How about the second header zone, which is level 2? Oh, we have 2 more header zones, level 3. And so now you can see that we have all these header zones. Here are the here are the nested headers. Header 1 with 2 headers underneath, header zone, and header zone. And then underneath the second header zone, we have 2 header zone 3s. So that's how you do recursion in a very elegant way using NLP++.